But now, for now, we have one extra presentation. 8 years ago, Viktor Oshowski started this maternal fetal medicine meeting in Kiev. And over the years, it was unique in its kind, and over the years, it became very important. And that was also one of the reasons why we should continue it this year. Unfortunately for Viktor, there were more serious problems in Ukraine this year, so he's not participating in, let's call it, the scientific program. But he wants to give a presentation, more philosophical, I guess, and also more related to day-to-day life now in Ukraine. And the title of his presentation is Questions We Ask, Roads We Take.
Hello, dear friends. My pleasure, my honor. At this conference, I had to read several reports on innovations in fetal medicine, but 2 months accompanied with the sounds of explosions, shootings, sirens, screams, and assault deprived me of confidence in the ability to formulate statements and confidently give answers. That photo was made directly in front of my clinic in Obolin district of Kiev. Well, let's say my mental field has narrowed sharply. It seemed to me to the animal level, but the main thing that can be done by watching what is happening in Ukraine is that a human is not able to become equal to an animal. It can be either lower or higher than it. I didn't want to get lower. This place was already occupied by Russian soldiers in Kiev region and all other regions of Ukraine as well. Killing, raping, robbing, and all that stuff that usually should be done during war, but we'll talk about later. But to rose rapidly after numbing the first days was also a difficult task. As a result, everything turned out to be easier than I thought. It became obvious that human being in nature is distinguished by only two things: questions and a sense of humor. Fortunately, we have no problem with the second one. We never dreamed of such brilliant jokes as were born during the wartime. The Ukrainian people have this congenital amazing feature to fight joyfully. That's maybe the reason why we are still alive. So today I talk about the importance of not losing the first aspect, medical practice and general life. There is nothing deadlier than the loss of the ability to ask, and vice versa. If the property is returned, everything comes back to life. If you would like to ask me what is on this photo, I would answer with pleasure. That's a theater in Mariupol. It was bombed with Russian aviation. In the moment, more than 3,000 people were hiding there. But nevertheless, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. I think everyone knows this poem of Rudyard Kipling. He will help me today to rule out my report. So questions are the basis for intellection. And here is the first one. What is intellection? It is an ability to produce personal, different, a quieting process, new knowledge, which did not exist in the beginning. It is important to distinguish between intellection and thinking. Both contain the formation of mental chains, but the first is the recombination of already known, when the second is the acquisition of new knowledge. The lack of intellection is extremely dangerous in medicine and in general life. In case of it, it is so easy to instill in your students, residents, or wider groups of people some universal knowledge, not necessarily true one, but usually useful for the provider. In case of it, a provider easily sets a convenient concept of thinking, but not of intellection, and therefore reveals the future actions of the target group. That's why questions we ask, if the ability was not lost, will define and set our roads. Some may object, after all, more questions, more uncertainty, and this is a problem for modern humans, accustomed for comfort of order. More uncertainty, more chaos. Really, sustainable order is important for the household, but dangerous for development. Under development, of course, we don't mind your new mobile phone, but we mind the step where we rise above the animal essence. Or in some cases, we are still trying to get at least to it, as the recent events in Ukraine showed, and continue to show actually. The society of the future is a society of adequate and honest questions, not like one without the answers, and not one with multiple answers. Such meta-modernism is another threat to people for sure. We lost our ability to call the things with their real names. It's disaster. But an endless chain of curiosity can create miracles. To know deeper, to understand better, to love more sincerely. No one teaches children to ask questions. They do it naturally. Cognition is their essence. Toddlers ask an average of more than 200 questions a day. From what to where, from when to more complicated like why. This is how the inner map of the universe is formed. The child says, "Mommy," but we understand. It asks, "Is my mommy here with me and am I safe enough?" Questions are the foundation on which the psyche is based. But there comes a time when children stop asking questions. This is not because they do not have such desire, but because we get tired and delegate children for answers to other sources. And old-fashioned educational institutions demand answers, not questions, from children. Moreover, the answers are of a stable type, unambiguous, such that are confirmed somewhere by someone once as true. The only correct answer is encouraged. Anyone else or other opinion is punished. So questions become a source of danger for a child and for an adult person as well. That's a bit later. The school of the future is a school where questioning is taught. All Socrates seemed to be right with his method. we can do a lot with questions. How much longer do we need to accept this? To refute and to rediscover again? The question is the basis for healthy medicine. In my favorite university textbook, Professor Sklar, Diagnosis of Internal Medicine, which has not lost its relevance in 70 years actually, it was stated that careful collection of medical history is 80% of the correct diagnosis. And I'm not sure that the advent of, let's say, computed tomography has dramatically affected that percentage. To be honest, I hate medical questionnaires, especially those that the patient fills in independently, waiting near the door, for example, or whatever. Yes, it saves time and money, but did the patient really come for that? When you do not see eyes, facial expressions, movements, posture, you lose a point of touch with a person and with a condition. And he or she doesn't have a chance to get in touch with you as well. Therefore, when addressing young doctors, I always know that if you have the least opportunity to ask the patients on your own, never avoid it. This is where the magic begins. Medical magic. Sometimes analyzing a case of perinatal loss and looking at the piles of research results, I catch myself thinking, did the doctor really understand why he conducted these or other examinations? Often the answer is obvious, rather no. It was done because it had to be done. It was written in the guidelines, so the chief said, not to be accused, etc. We are used to living in a world of ready-made answers. We seek information as drug addicts at all costs, neglecting information, hidden. Therefore, we are constantly losing the gold crumbs in an endless stream. What can help us? Get on a ship with a wallet full of golden nuggets. And here, the question is an answer. Because it allows you to focus on the main things. Proper questioning opens up a completely different mental world with different optics, which will allow you to find among the precious stones the purest ones, and so on infinitely. And this is the prerogative of the creator, isn't it? The privilege of creating. Question. What do we really strive for in our work? That's the child is alive and unharmed. When can it stop being like that? When hypoxemia turns into acidemia. And when does this happen? When compensatory reactions are depleted. Therefore, for example, all fetal monitoring can be described by 3 questions. Did the fetus switched on compensatory responses? If so, at what stage of reaction is the fetus now? And does the fetus have signs of severe hypoxia or acidemia? For example, you can see this CTG. Do we see the signs of well-being? Definitely, the basal rhythm is okay, there are acceleration, there is perfect variability, no deceleration, everything is fine. Do we see any, let's say, signs of danger? No. Do we see any risks of acidemia? No, that's all. Do we see here the signs of well-being? Yes, we see. The basic rhythm is norm, there are accelerations, there are movements. Do we see something that can attract our attention? Yes, we do. But we understand that this, let's say, not very exciting variability is because the baby was sleeping. And that's the reason. So do we have the risks or signs of severe hypoxemia or acidemia? No, we do not. So the same for ultrasound. First, we're trying to find, are there any alarming signs? And if so, what is the stage? We stay. As here, do we see any signs of well-being? No, we do not. Do we see any signs that we do not like? We wouldn't like to see? Yeah, definitely. Are the risks of hypoxemia or acidemia here? Yeah, the risk is clear, let's say so. And it is much more important because it's very easy to conduct a CTG score, but does the presence of 6 or 7 Fisher scores give us a true understanding of the condition of the fetus? Of course not. Direct conclusions are shaky and often wrong. And when you put correct and adequate questions, that's a completely different story. Because now you understand what are you looking for. Quite a different understanding, and definitely other tactical steps and other roads we take. The right question is a question that covers different sides of the problem. For example, can the risk of premature placental abruption be reduced? Of course. Prescribing aspirin at risk group for up to 16 weeks at a dose of 100 up to 150 milligrams. But what about the other side, which we often lose? Is it possible to increase the risk of premature placental abruption? Of course. Prescribing aspirin at risk group at dosage 100 to 150 after 16 weeks. The answer is almost the same. Without knowing the question, it is difficult to distinguish. The devil is in details. And in extremely confident answers, questions and doubts are the prerogative of the Creator. In any sense, not only in religious form. That's a child virtue. One who retains this ability will never consider life meaningless. I managed to stay curious, therefore the questions are multiplying. For example, where is the limit of human patience for pure evil? How far can hypocrisy go? What feeds cowardice? Will lies always remain more attractive? Or another question, why organizations that are supposed to take care of children's health still keep silence about the biggest catastrophe in Europe since World War II? About hundreds of confirmed and potentially thousands of lost children lives in a peaceful European country in the 21st century. Science moving people, moving science. I don't believe you. No official positions. Money spent for trials. No answers for our appeals. Why do we so ruthlessly look for children with chromosomal abnormalities prenatally or prevent miscarriage if we assume the death of healthy and uninjured babies right now and nearby? However, this boy with Down syndrome may be lucky for the first time, the luckiest one among babies in Kharkiv, because he is not fully aware of the tragedy of his family in destroyed city, the scientific capital of Ukraine, with 3 Nobel laureates, mostly Russian-speaking city, where so said brothers came to liberate the Russian-speaking population. The distance between this brotherly love and the first bombing of peaceful cities were too short, extremely short. So, should doctors be out of politics? 2 broad questions. Especially doctors taking care about babies, women, pregnant. 2 broad questions. Let's put others. Do those who call for the killing of their colleagues on national grounds have the right to proceed being a doctor? How to protect those single, brave hearts who had the courage to express support for Ukraine in the professional communities and who are already being questioned by particular specialists of internal affairs? And most importantly, that is, for example, I will translate you. Ukrainian horse, I hate you. I'm waiting for your agony. Glory to Ukraine as a part of Russia. She's a doctor in Astrakhan. She had never been to Ukraine. It is 3,000 kilometers from Ukraine, but she hates us. It's funny, but Ukrainians became a Jews of the 21st century. Another girl also who promised to kill us, she was in Ukraine. She was in Kharkiv. She was even performing some workshops there. Isn't it ridiculous? And the most important, why do the vast majority of doctors in Russia and Belarus remain silent? They support our destruction or prefer the position of a silent witness for a crime? Such questions better reveal the essence of the problem, are they? That is why it's important to put questions in a correct manner. The war, unfortunately, continues. But lives go on. What we can do, as Golda Meir, Kiev-born woman here, you know that she's a Jew by nation, definitely, but she's our Jew, Ukrainian Jew, is our president. That's the funniest thing, you know, that Russians came to Ukraine to kill Nazis, but in fact, Ukrainian president is a Jew, and people are being killed in Babi Yar in 21st centuries. By whom? Who are these people who do that? What's going on? It's definitely God have a sense of humor, the black one. So now we understand that for us, as it was stated in an official, one of the most popular news agencies, RIA News, what Russia should have done with Ukraine. Someone do not understand Russian, I will explain that it is said there that all Ukrainians should be killed because all of them are Nazists, something like this. That to be Ukrainian means that this person should be punished, killed, destroyed forever. That's an open policy. And there are accumulating questions to the world to which we do not yet have answers. But fortunately, this is a battle for us without alternatives. And finally, once again in our history, we must consciously answer the question of principle to be or not to be. And we do it quite successfully. But I'm afraid to live in this world surrounding Ukraine that is struggling with all forces we have, with all patient love we have. Well, but lack of alternative is about it's soothing, it's inspiring after all. No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owing yourself. Well, I believe you, Reddit. Don't let me down. Slava Ukraini. Keep asking questions.
Thank you.